Hello, everybody. Welcome to Novels and Nightcaps, the podcast where we read, drink, and ramble. I'm Gabe,
And I'm Noor.
and this week we're talking about how people should rate their books and why. What system is the best, what's the worst, and what system we should use. But as always, before we get talking about rating systems and all of that nonsense, Noor, what are you drinking?
Today I made myself a Negroni. Not a Mezcal Negroni, but an actual classic Negroni with gin,
You were able
sweet
to
vermouth,
you were able to find ice.
and Campari. Oh yes, I was struggling with ice, but I found some. I found some. We're
Dude,
good here.
how do you like it? How is it?
Let me try it out.
Taste test.
I like it better than the Mezcal Negroni, I think.
Oh, I is it a mezcal thing? Or are you just not a huge mezcal fan? Is it the I like gin a lot. Gin is my drink of choice, I found.
The gin is really clean, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like it
It is
feels
like the
pure.
perfect base. Yeah, it's very pure. It's very pure. I'm almost finished with my bottle because I've just been using it for almost every single cocktail we've made. Not because I'm cheap, just because I'm like, dang, I really want more gin. I just have really enjoyed it. So I have just been it's an old fashioned, very classic. I used a little ice for this time because I didn't have time to freeze a big ice cube. Um, and so it's going to be really watered down, but come on, it's an old fashioned. It's tasty. Everybody enjoys a good old fashioned.
Watered down cocktails. That's the
That's what
stuff.
we do here at Novels and Nightcaps. We drink our watered down cocktails, yet it's still quite enjoyable. Who would have thought
Mhm,
alcohol makes you
mhm.
happy? That's
Oh,
not an official opinion. That's the Novels and Nightcaps slogan. Alcohol makes you happy. Well,
alcohol makes you happy.
today we are talking about rating systems. So if you joined us for last time, we talked about Project Hail Mary. And near the end of it, we were talking a little bit about our rating system and decided we really needed to finalize what we think. And so, what better way to do that than actually on the podcast? So, we're going to run through a couple of variations of rating systems, a couple of ways other people have decided to rate books. And we're also going to talk about what we like about them, what we don't like, and what eventually we want to be our rating system. Now, it's not too dissimilar from what we've already shown in the past, so it's not exactly going to be revolutionary, but it is going to add some clarity and hopefully nuance to our opinion. That's the hope, at least to inform our thoughts. Um, but I think first we should probably go through why you should rate books. Why rate them at all? Why not just talk about, the book? Why not just talk about our general opinions of the book? Why give it a specific stamp that says this book is X? Why is that important?
That is a good question. I actually think about that a lot when it comes to movies, right? Um, Gabe, you know me, I log every movie on Letterbox like religiously. I've done so for
You
the
should
last
plug
5
your
years.
letterbox. What is your account name?
Uh, it's MCU aficionado. I made this when I was in high school, and the MCU was
I
really
didn't
good.
know that.
But yeah, no, follow me down below. Uh, but there was a period a few months ago where I stopped giving movies ratings, and I was just trying to enjoy the movie. So I do think there's a merit to not rating things. Just try to enjoy the art or the entertainment for what it is. Simultaneously, though, I do think some books, some movies, media in general, sometimes it's really easy to tell that, like, this is a 6 out of 10, this is an 8 out of 10, this is a 10 out of 10. And, well, there's a big difference, right, between a project that you would consider a 10 out of 10 and a project that you would consider a 6 out of 10. Subjectively, you might enjoy both works, you might recommend them to most people, but there's a niche, and I think that we all have our own seal of approval. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. And we have the added layer of having an audience here. We have people listening, people trying to figure out a concise way um, of what we think of the books, right? And so I kind of see it like academics. And this might be because I'm in academics and academia is my current world, but I look at this as a paper, right? And your rating is the thesis of the paper. So you make your claim. We make our claims. And I mean, I don't remember exactly what I gave Project Hail Mary, but it was a pretty high score. It was an 8.5
8.5.
something. Yeah, 8.5. So I give it an 8.5 out of 10. And then the rest of the podcast is me justifying that using examples and diving deeper into my opinion. But the rating itself is essential because it allows us to assert a claim on the work that we need to back up with our own opinions and analysis. And so, at least in a podcast format, I agree with you though for personal viewing. For personal viewing, for movies or books, it's not always beneficial to rate works because sometimes you can be hypercritical of something and forget to enjoy an overall good viewing experience. To be honest, I hate rating movies a lot. I mean, I typically go in and just kind of say that was a good movie, unless it wasn't. If it was a bad movie, it's a bad movie. But I just enjoy watching movies. But when it comes to something like this, it requires a critical lens. It requires a more nuanced perspective and a claim that we can try and back up. It allows us to, I think, focus our commentary into something that means something. Does that make sense? That's at least how I've viewed what rating books is all about.
That makes a lot of sense. That is a really good analogy for just ratings in general. Um, at the same time, we are a podcast, so you're completely right. We definitely have to have some sort of rating system. Otherwise, people are just tuning in to hear two guys ramble, right? Which is kind of what we do, but at the same time,
And drink.
people
Yeah, read, drink, and rebel. Yeah.
we read, drink, and ramble. Um, but when people listen to a podcast about books, they are looking for a rating, right? They want to know if this book is worth checking out. Um, and then occasionally you'll have the person who has read the book, and they'll keep listening to the podcast, and they'll either agree with our opinion or not. And if all of our ratings are just, oh, we had a fun time, we like this book, well, the rest of the podcast sort of becomes meaningless, right? We're just glazing the book uh, without giving any proper criticism. So I do enjoy that analogy of the rating as our thesis. The rest of the podcast is us trying to justify, right? It's the body paragraphs. So good
And I
job.
think it would also be kind of dishonest if we just pretended to love every book we read. It's just not how people function. I mean, I'm gonna go back to it. Babel, man. I really had a hard time with Babel, and I loved the book. Okay, let me make this clear because my wife criticized me a lot and said you can't talk bad about books, but I was like, okay, that's kind of the point of the podcast. But she was like, you can't get out there and slander this book. But I want to make clear Kwong is a great author. Like she is, that's her name, right? What is the author's name? I should probably know that
Rebecca
before.
Kwong, yeah.
Okay, yeah, she is a fantastic author. Her writing style is very good and enjoyable. Like I enjoyed the reading experience. It was just the fundamental beliefs of the book that I really had a problem with, and the ending and some of the ways characters were portrayed. And that's just kind of a personal thing. So that's really the reason I disliked the book, which um, doesn't at all focus on the author as a whole. I think that's important here is that a book's rating is separated from our perspective of the author. I think that Joe Abercrombie is an incredible author. Yeah, I thought The Devils was a bad book. And that's important because great writers and great authors can write bad pieces. Great people can write bad pieces. Bad people can write great pieces. And that's part of what the rating system allows us to do is separate our personal opinions of the people writing from the actual writing itself. And with that being said, we should probably talk about the most rampant rating system of all, and it's the 1 to 5 star Goodreads system. Right, Goodreads is a very successful app. A lot of people are on it. I think, did it get updated recently? I'm pretty sure they did an update, but they didn't update the UI, and everybody was mad.
At the
There
very
was something
least, the
called,
logo is different.
yeah, and everybody was super annoyed because they haven't tried to make everything more user friendly or like change
Yeah.
the algorithms for book recommendations or anything like that. But the 1 to 5 star system, right, and it includes half stars, I believe. And let's talk
Not
about this, right?
Goodreads.
What are you Goodreads? Yeah, what is the what is the benefit of the system and what is some of the drawbacks of the system? Like, why might we like the 1 to 5 star system, and why might we not like it?
I actually am a very big fan of the 5-star system. It's very simple. Um, I think it gets the point across. And then if you have anything to add, that's where you know, in your rating app, at least you can type in your actual review of the book. What I don't like about Goodreads specifically is that they don't do half stars, at least
Mm,
not on the phone, not on the mobile app. And that is always so frustrating because there is a big difference for me between a 3 out of 5 and a 3.5 out of 5, right?
mhm.
Uh, and so that often gets lost in translation. But overall, I do enjoy the simplicity of the 5-star system. I think most people have a good sense for what each of those ratings means for most people. At the same time, I think with a 5-star system, a lot of people tend to view the 3 stars as like the baseline when it should really be 2.5 stars, right? 2.5 stars
Mhm.
is half. It should be like
Yeah.
mediocre. It should be baseline. But a lot of people, at least myself included, tend to default to like 3 stars as mid, which kind of skews the ratings a bit higher. And so you see a lot of 4-star ratings, which encompass a wide range of books, right? And not all of them, I would say, are considered 4 stars. Uh,
Yeah,
Definitely
I
skews
I
the ratings.
completely, yeah, because I'm not gonna lie. When I rate anything on anything that's a 5 star system, most pieces that I rate end up as 4 stars because
Mhm.
I liked it. And the fact that I liked it means it has to be more than 3 stars because 3 stars is average. I don't like average things, which is totally not true. But at least that's how my brain functions because I feel emotions from reading this book, and so I want to give it credit where credit's due, and so I give it 4 stars because it's not life changing. It's not 5 stars, but to be honest, that's where most books fall, ironically, is in that 4 star category for me. And you're right, that's where 0.5 stars come in handy, but I don't know why. My brain doesn't, I mean, it should treat the 0.5 stars as 1 to 10. It should just be a 1 to 10
Yeah.
rating.
You,
My brain still sees it as 5 stars. Still, it still puts it into that category. And so most things still become a 4 star rating. So I don't know what that says about me. But that's my biggest problem with it. It is overly simple and doesn't say a lot about a book because you have a lot of people who rate on a 1 to 5 star system. And
Mhm.
I don't know why.
It's-
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here. I feel like more people are likely to give something 1 out of 5 stars than 1 out of 10 stars or 1 out of 10. Like a 1 out of 10 is less likely than a 1 out of 5, even though
one
they
out of
often, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's
Yeah,
just,
no, it totally does because if you actually translated, uh, like if you set it as an equation, I believe it's a 1 out of 5 is just a 2 out of 10. It feels less harsh, right? A one out
Mhm.
of ten feels very harsh. Like that is very critical. Like you did not like that book, like that.
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel, never reading that again. If you could, if you could burn every copy, that's what you would do. Uh, but a 1 out of 5 is like it's bad. It's
It's
bad.
bad. What do
But you
you
don't
what are
hate
your
it.
take what's your take on people who rate books that they didn't finish? Because I've seen that a lot on Goodreads where people will put in the comments, hated this book, did not finish, only got like a quarter of the way through. What is your opinion on people who rate books they did not finish? I have very strong opinions on this.
I think it depends on how much you've read, right? Like you have to give it a genuine effort. If you just read maybe like 20% of the book, boo. Um, I am guilty of having not finished the book and given it a really low rating, but I got maybe 70% of the way.
No, it's
What are your
bad. It's
thoughts?
bad. No, it's horrible. Okay, I know. The people who rate books that they haven't finished are the same people who don't raise their hand in class. That's the same type of person. They're the people who blurt out. Nor with exception to you, of course.
Right, right, right.
I despise people who rate books that they did not finish. I mean, I see this all the time, especially with books that have really high impact that, punch you in the chest at the end of the book. If somebody only makes it three-quarters of the way and stops right before the big twist, they can't properly rate the book because they have no idea what the entire experience is like. Like, how can you rate an experience that you never had? It just doesn't make sense. It is illogical. And it's the type of person that is unwilling to take the time to think and follow the process and the structure of what this entire system is based on, and they just throw it in the garbage and just blurt out and interrupt everybody, and it's just the worst. They ruin everybody's time. They say the answers before other people get to. Anyways, I despise it. I think it's a horrible thing that you should be required to. I don't know how you would enforce this, but maybe I don't know.
Gabe, you are an academic at heart, truly.
I hate it. I
I
hate
think
this
I think
so much.
most people, I think most people are just casual when they're when it comes to the ratings, right? I don't think a podcast or like a source of information has the right or the permission to not finish a book and rate it. Definitely not, because I am not reading someone's review if they did not finish the book. That much is
Yeah,
true. I think a lot of people who rate books on Goodreads are just casual people. I know I am. I keep a log for my own sake, really,
yeah.
and my 5 followers, my 5 loyal
Dude,
followers.
right on with the five loyal followers.
We do it for the 5 people. um, I
I
don't know
remember.
how extreme is this hatred. Let's unpack this.
I well, okay. So good.
So
I'll be honest.
are you
I am
saying
not
if
that.
like are you saying that if the whole book sucks, but the last chapter like has this like magical twist that suddenly makes a whole book click?
No,
Would
but
you
I think it
blame?
can bring it
Yeah.
from a 1 star to a 2 star.
All right.
Absolutely. The way that a book stays with you matters. And if you didn't, I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, I think it does matter. Not that it's going to dramatically change somebody's rating, but at least you can properly make an informed rating.
I
Okay,
understand.
I have another good question though. Um, so how do you feel about people rating books poorly based off of like political views or opinions
Don't
about
do that.
the piece that have nothing to
Oh
do
no,
with?
dude.
Yeah, okay. I was
No,
just wondering though, like how
this
you
one,
feel about that.
this one, I feel so strongly about. I do not think you should be rating things based on uh, like just politics or like if a book has a different view than you, if the author has a different view, you should not be like raid bombing this. You can read
Yeah,
the whole book, you can disagree with it, uh, and you can still rate it low, right? But it goes back to the whole take the time to read the book, take the time to digest this opposing view, right? Not everyone agrees. I mean, I think it is well established in our modern climate, right? But it's the only way we grow, by being exposed to ideas that we do not necessarily agree with at first, or even after we hear the idea. Um, I personally enjoy reading books that have wildly opposing views to what I feel, right? And I am very like I'm very middle ground, so I'm very open minded when it comes to that. It's just something I enjoy. I enjoy all these different philosophies. So I don't think you get to just hate on someone that's almost like ad hominem. That's the only logical fallacy I know. But
Yeah, I think I mean you're right. There's a few caveats here, and part of it would be like, okay, if it's hard though because you look at someone like George R. R. Martin. George R. R. Martin, I wouldn't say is a sexist guy, but clearly his world portrays a lot of sexist behavior. The
mhm.
way women are treated in A Song of Ice and Fire is not good. Let's just say not admirable, not advisable, not a good teaching moment. However, the books are obviously uh, created for adults, for people that hopefully can understand that this isn't a model to be followed. However, if it's a young adult book and there's a lot of racism or a lot of sexism and there's no real commentary on it, I personally have a little bit more of a problem with it because of the audience in particular. If you're writing books for a specific audience and it's for, young adults or kids, for example, there needs to be an understanding that these books will shape the children. That's essential. Percy Jackson is awesome because Percy Jackson, while being a little unfiltered and sarcastic and boyish, right, he's very relatable. He still is heroic and is doing good things and has a good heart. I think that's important there. So while not necessarily political, I would say there is part of me that does want to rate on morality a little bit. Now, granted, I think Neil Gaiman is a good example. I don't agree with Neil Gaiman as a human being in the slightest, but you can't deny he writes some good books.
His books are
You can't
majestic.
take. I hate it, and it's frustrating. It'd be a lot easier if he was a trash writer, but the fact is he's a very excellent author. And I
Yeah,
agree though
no,
that you can't take your opinion of him as an author and take that to review bomb his book. Now, you can obviously decide not to buy his book. You owe nothing to Neil Gaiman. You owe nothing to
yeah.
him. You don't have to buy any of his stuff. So that's how you treat people like that. You just don't participate in that. But you don't
It
review bomb.
also no, for sure, you definitely don't do that. If hold on, let me gather my thoughts here. If the ideology or whatever thing is being talked about that you don't agree with, if that subject is part of the story, like it actually serves a purpose, then you definitely shouldn't be like lowering the quality or lowering your rating based on that, unless it unless it just doesn't work with the plot, if that makes sense. um
Yeah.
at the very least, like, you should be open-minded enough, or at least I try to be. If the point that I don't agree with is essential to the story, or better yet, it is the story. Because you have some of my favorite authors are like Ernest Hemingway and Haruki Murakami. They're both very sexist, very sexist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there definitely some scenes in those in their books that are very uncomfortable to read. Borderline, at least with Murakami, even borderline perverted. That I don't like, but
Mhm.
I am not gonna rate the book lower because of that. Because a lot of the themes do involve like love and romance and just confused feelings of youth, right? So I think it depends on like the degree of the ideology or the subject, and
Yeah.
whether or not it actually serves the story. If it has a point, and unless it's just propaganda, like very clear propaganda, or just
But
you know
propaganda can be fire sometimes. Not gonna lie, there's some great propaganda out there.
you are not wrong about that. As always, with these guidelines, there's always like exceptions. There's always
There's
caveats.
always exceptions. And
But
with that being said, I this really naturally brings us to this other question I had with obviously rating is subjective. At its core, it's subjective, but it feels like it's an attempt at the objective. We're making our personal ratings in an attempt to put a quantifiable grade on these works. So we're trying to say this is their value. And a lot of times we're trying to do it in a way that seems nuanced and we try to separate ourselves from it as much as possible. We try to take our political opinions out. We try to take our ideological opinions out of rating a book because they're not necessarily constructive to what everybody might experience. But at the end of the day, it is subjective. So what are we really striving for here? Are we striving to communicate our own personal experience, or are we trying to and this is more of a question for us rather than I think rating as a whole, because everybody can, it being subjective, everybody can come at it in a different sense. But are we trying to communicate our experience with the book, or what we believe the experience is for most people with the book? Does that make sense?
yeah, I think I think it's a mix of both. I I definitely, at least the way I see it, right? These numbers, I think of them in terms of how most people will see them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like to think that I have a good sense of what a 4 out of 5 means for most people. And so when I rate something on Letterboxd or on Goodreads, yes, I am doing it for myself, but I am doing it using the basis of what I think most people would agree on. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in the case of the podcast, there is a big emphasis. I don't know. It's hard to it's hard to explain, but I think we definitely give a rating, or at least we try to give a rating that we're giving to people, right? Not just like of
Mm-hmm.
our experience, but yeah, this is a book that would resonate with such and such audience.
So is that saying that impact as a category of analysis is possibly not a good place to look because impact is as personal as it gets? If we're talking about how a book stays with you, how a book impacts you emotionally, I mean, not everybody's going to experience that because not everybody has our life experiences. We're all different people. And so a book that might, remind you of your little brother. I mean, I don't have a little brother. That's not, I'm not going to think of that at all, you know? And so there's
You're not gonna
personal
think about my
experience
little
here.
brother?
You're right, dude. How selfish of me. I should be
Yeah,
picturing
come on.
myself
How
when Noah
dare you
dies.
not
I
have the
take over
same
as big
thoughts, the
brother.
same experiences as I do? How
Oh
dare
man.
you?
I'm
Do better, Dave.
the
Do better.
oh my gosh. So, anyways, yeah, it's
No,
a
but
it's a
I,
very
I think you're
personal
right.
experience.
I
So,
think that's a good
is
point.
that working against our overall goal? I mean, I agree with you, but also at the same time, I mean, we have maybe this is why we have our subjective side of the rating because what we're really trying to design is a multi-axis rating, a rating that takes into account individual categories and combines an average of those that are hopefully weighted in our sense to create an overall score. But then there's also our highly subjective experience rating, our kind of mood rating on how we view the book, which is very personal and obviously is not objective. That's like the whole point of it. Where I mean, I guess this is a good time to talk about it a little bit. to discuss it because I'm talking about it now. So we should talk about our subjective rating because I think this is an essential part of our experience. So Nor, can you talk us through our whole book rating system, the subjective part? I'm saying that word a lot this podcast. I'm sorry. What is it?
Right. So after I improvised it in our first episode or our fourth episode, the one where we
Which
did
was
the full
brilliant.
review of the Devils. Yeah. Thank you. One of my best works. I workshopped it a little bit. I'm going to start from bottom and work my way up, right? So at the bottom of the barrel, we have PDF. So, it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad book, but if you have to read it, just download the PDF format. Like
It's how I
just
read most textbooks. Yeah,
yeah,
I get
exactly.
you.
That's what I was thinking about. That's why I picked it because most of my required reading for school, most of my textbooks, I just got a PDF. I wasn't gonna bother.
Hmm.
Um, After that, moving up, we have the type of book that you find in a garage sale, right?
Mm,
It's a nice find. You'll get it. It's like $1. Who cares if you lose it? It's okay. Like you probably don't even know the title of the book.
that's good.
Then you have the book that you borrow from the library. You're not gonna
I
pay
like
for
that
it.
it has a little bit more value. You didn't pay $1, but also at the library book, you don't want to lose it. Like you obviously got it for a reason, and you have to return it. So there has to be a little bit more
Well,
value associated with it.
Gabe, you and I have gone to so many like garage sales for books, and we grabbed so many books.
It's
I've
true.
maybe read two or three out of the 50, 60 books we've bought. And the others
Yeah,
I don't know where they are. Couldn't tell you. So,
that's very fair.
yeah, a
Well, do
library
they have
book.
that like $20 sale, which is awesome, where you have like
Yeah,
the
no, for
big
sure.
bag? You just fill the bag with 20 with any books, and it's $20.
That's why I
They have
say
some
like
killer deals, right?
if the Devils is there, just go grab it. Why not?
Oh yeah, no, that would be a great book for the garage sale.
It would be a steal actually, because
Actually would be a
the
good
Devils is
steal.
not that
Yeah.
bad. I was just playing,
No, no,
but
that would be great. Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay,
no,
so garage sale, library slash is it
yes,
garage sale slash discount bookstore?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Then you borrow the book from the library. That's a bit higher. Um, it was nice while it lasted. It's good. Uh, worth checking out. Yeah, sure. Then you have the ebook, right? Which
Yeah,
I don't think either of
my
us are big fans of ebooks. There's some
yeah.
people
I
out there
think that's
that
an
love it,
adequate
right?
place though.
So I
I,
think
I
it's
really
you know
do. I think it's a good place.
it's worthwhile. It doesn't really deserve a spot on your shelf, Like yeah, you're definitely worthwhile.
Yeah,
Above that,
and but
you have your
you're spending more than your library book though. Like
yes, yeah,
it requires a bit more attention sometimes, unless you have that Amazon Kindle Unlimited situation. For the most part, though, you're spending still a little bit of money, a normal amount of money, and I don't know. I think that's a fair place to put it because it still feels a little higher class than discount bookstore and library book, and obviously
yeah.
PDF. Great spot.
I like my ebook library. Like I have an extensive library there,
I
so
hate my ebook
definitely
library.
definitely worthwhile. Above that, you have your paperbacks, right? These are your solid, enjoyable. They deserve a spot on the shelf. You might revisit them, you might not. Good stuff. Good stuff. Definitely good stuff.
Hmm.
Above that, of course, you have your hardcovers. Those are the ones you are really proud to own. They are very enjoyable, very good. I think it would be safe to assume that most people would like it. You would recommend it, right?
Hmm.
I think Project Hail Mary is either a hardcover or a paperback, right?
Yeah.
Same with the Devils, if we're being honest, but probably paperback for the Devils. And then above that, you have your collector's edition, right? You have the big expensive books, the ones you get like right off the shelf as soon as they come out. These are life changers. These you would recommend to anyone and everyone. You force your friends to read them. Um, right now, I'm looking at Wind and Truth, which is definitely not a collector's edition book,
Hmm.
but to to make my point, I got it. I spent the extra money on that book because the whole series was so good and so not necessarily life changing, but it was such a wild ride, and I would highly recommend the series to anyone. Right. So if I could go
Yeah.
back in time and get The Way of Kings as a collector's edition, that's exactly what I would do. So that would be kind of where I'm at with that subjective scale. What do you think?
I I like the scale. However, I do have a proposition. What if it's
No.
not a scale at all?
Ooh.
Because if we're trying to make this subjective, why should we bind ourselves to saying one is higher than the other? Because that implies one is like literally more valuable. But I mean, I gave Project Hail Mary a paperback rating, not because I thought that it didn't deserve hardcover. That wasn't it at all. It was specifically because it is the type of book that I want to carry in my backpack with me. And I picture it, getting beat up. I picture it getting a rip in the cover a little bit. And that's the kind of experience that I want with that book. Whereas, I mean, Way of Kings, for example, I want a collector's edition for that because it was a book that I felt like needed to be honored a little bit. Like after I read it, I need to put it on the shelf and just go, oh, like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So it's not that I think Way of Kings is objectively better or worse than Project Hail Mary. It's not that I'm making that judgment at all. It's that they are just different experiences compared to each other. So that's my thing I want to throw out there because there's also some books that I think are really good, but I honestly just think they would be better as like a library book because I
Hmm.
can picture in my head that child going to the library, finding this book on the shelf, checking it out, reading it, having them start their reading journey. But that has nothing to do with the value of the book itself. Same thing though. If we read it like a classic, if we read like, what's a good example here? Something I'm trying to think
Beowulf
of.
as a PDF.
Yeah, yeah. If we're Beowulf as a PDF, or yeah, that's a good take though. Like Beowulf feels like a text. If we're reading Thucydides, like it feels like a textbook. Not that it's bad; it's really good. It just feels like something that belongs on that sort of vibe. Now, granted, there is a little bit of connotative, you know, hierarchy between them, but maybe we shouldn't view it as a scale.
I'm glad you say that. Uh, and I do agree with that. I do agree with that. There's a reason why I didn't include audiobooks at all. There's some people that only exclusively listen to audiobooks, and that's completely fine, right? Um, there's some people that throw in audiobooks here and there. There's some people that love audiobooks. There's some people that hate them. Uh, I have a very hard time listening to audiobooks. There's a certain type of book that fits the audiobook vibe so well. And I'm thinking here, Dungeon Crawler Carl. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm thinking Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
yeah,
Uh, there's a couple books, right? How to Lose a Time War. It's a sci-fi book that's told as letters between two lovers, two enemies slash lovers, and it just works so much better as an audiobook than as a book, right? The other point that I was going to throw out there was as far as because at the end of the day everything we're talking about is subjective. It's also scale slash spectrums, whatever you want to call it, right? Or rank. The way I see it, at least it makes sense in my head. The subjective scale is very individual. It's very like individual to the book, right? Like I don't
yeah.
compare a book that I rated as a paperback to a book that I rated as a hardcover. I compare those two books in terms of the number rating that I give them. But even then I don't do it explicitly. But if I had to compare two ratings, I would do it with the number, not the subjective scale, right? Um but yeah,
I
that's
okay. I like that. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. And there's one other, at least, rating scale slash system that I can really think of before we get into our hopefully more objective ish system, the tier list system. tier lists are everywhere nowadays. I feel like we've gotten more and more into tier lists, going from like F to S tier. That whole system is everywhere, and partly it's because it's very visual, because you can see it very clearly. And I mean, you could have it be 1 to 10. You could have it be, I guess, yeah, you could have it be 1 to 5 also. But for some reason, we've really latched on to this tier system, this graded tier list. Why do we like it so much? Is it just a fad that kind of has propped up on YouTube? Is it something deeper than that? Is it because I don't really know why, and I was wondering if you had any insights here, because I find it addictive. I love watching these tier list videos, but I don't know what makes them separated from just a 1 to 10 rating.
A I don't have a lot of experience with tier rankings or like tier lists. Uh, in my experience, it has always been like for characters or for like characters of a franchise. I used to watch these like Pokemon ratings.
Okay,
So
Pokemon tier list.
like the Pokemon were ranked, right? And that was fun for me to watch. Uh, but it was always like very unserious. I think,
Yeah,
and here
that's
I
a
am.
good that's a good point.
Mhm.
I like that. Unserious. That's a really good
So
way to say it.
at least in my experience, it's a more fun way of doing things. It's very visual, which of course we like, both as content creators and as viewers. We like visual. It's very easy. It's very standardized in a way. Like we all know what an S tier means. We all know what an F tier or a D tier or whatever it is. Um, I don't know.
I like
I
that.
think
I like
I
that.
think it's just unserious. It's fun.
I
Definitely
Yeah, I
would be
mean,
open
that's
to doing one.
yeah, we've talked about this before whenever we were discussing future videos. We definitely need to do a tier list of some kind. But also, to do a tier list, you have to be well informed. And I feel like we are babies and compared to some of these other people out here. Like
We'll get
we
there.
have a lot to read. We have a lot to read, but we have our whole lives ahead of us. Nor we have so much time to read. We can do this.
Knock
Um,
on wood.
Knock on wood. I don't have real wood here, so I can't.
Oh
Like,
no!
sorry, bro. But
Rest in peace, Gabe.
so okay, that's good. I like that a lot, though. That satisfies my question, because I really was trying to figure out. I'm like, why do people love this thing? Because what's the difference? And it really is unserious. And maybe that's the S tier part, but it's people don't rank these things. I mean, they argue over it, but it's all in good fun for the most part. It's all in good fun, and it's not anything that you see on any sort of um, like well respected place. To be honest,
Yeah, it's a fun time.
not that we're well respected as reviewers, but
We
uh,
will be.
yeah, I mean, we're drinking cocktails while we discuss our books. I'm not sure if we're ever gonna be like, dude, you're clouding your judgment too much.
Five years from now, our reviews of the books,
Mm.
like people are gonna have us under like book blurbs. I think that's what they're
Yeah, I was
called,
about to
right?
say we're gonna be the blurb.
Yeah,
Really
we are gonna be
good.
the blurb. Awesome good time. I liked it.
eight, 5, 6 out of 10. That's really good.
Emojis.
I like that.
I
Emoji.
like
Oh,
that. Yeah,
dude, emoji. Maybe. Oh, I never even thought about it. Maybe we should rate books via emoji instead.
I hate emojis.
Why do you hate emojis? Let's unpack that.
That's a whole other episode, man.
No, 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 no. I gotta know now. What's your problem with emojis? What's your problem with emojis? Why
They
can't they be
just
used to
mean
rank books well?
because I mean they're so fascinating from a linguistic standpoint. They constantly change meaning. The skull emoji used to mean death, and then it became like, oh, I'm dead, like I'm laughing, like this was
That's
funny.
funny. Yeah,
And then there was the hi-fi emoji, which people used as a prayer emoji, and now it's
yeah,
more
that's true.
like it's just in humorous things. So like emojis just constantly change meaning. It's like pick a
And
lane. How
man, I
dare
know
you
you
be
worked
rich in
really hard.
complexity?
I know you worked really hard on developing that whole subjective ranking system, but I gotta say, if they constantly it sounds like the most subjective way to rank our experience, Nor,
Do
because
not
it's
prove my
constantly
point.
changing.
Do not prove my point.
I hate to say it, but dude, this conversation has been skull emoji. I, dude, I love that. That's so good. I didn't realize you
God,
had such a hatred for emojis.
it's it's
This has never come up.
it
I
stems
only
back to
recently started
childhood.
using them. I feel like I discovered them when I got married. I don't know what happened. I think it's because she started texting for me, so it just
It's
started popping up. But I used it. Have you noticed? I've been using it a little bit
I
more. I've been
have
trying,
noticed a lot
dipping my toe
significantly.
in the water, dipping my toe in the water, trying to
It only
have a little.
slightly irks me.
I just have a little smiley
I
face here or there, a little wink. Like this.
see, because when someone sends me a smiley face, I don't think they're genuinely happy. I think
I never am.
it freaks me out. But
uh,
I think
that's
we've
so good.
established well enough in our friendship that social cues kind of go over my head a little bit.
We don't need social cues. Well, they're
We don't
not
need that.
relevant for friendship.
It's an album
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
for real. Okay.
Before I forget, I
I
have this question though.
yes. Oh, yes.
Um, how do we feel about people who rate books slash movies like right after reading something, like right after consuming the media? Because certainly there's like a recency bias that affects your views. Like No Way Home, when that came out, and here I'm talking about a movie, right? Spider-Man No Way Home. The first half is pretty bad, and then it starts picking up at the end, and then the very end is very satisfying, very yeah, fan servicey, but very satisfying. And so it leaves you feeling very happy and thinking that the movie was a good time. And for a lot of people, yeah, it was a good time. But I did notice that that movie got such a high ratings, right? It was well praised. And then it's been a few months later, a few weeks later, a few years later, people are realizing, or most people, a lot more people are realizing that it wasn't as good, right? Now,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like years because that's unreasonable. But when you finish a book that is very boring, very bland, and then it has like a really good third act, and it gets you like feeling pumped and excited. And if you rate it right off the bat, you're more likely to give it a higher rating than you would otherwise if you actually take a day or two and think about your rating. How
Yeah,
do you
and in
feel about that?
the opposite sense, I mean, the Devils is something that I think we both kind of feel like we're a little grouchy with because we've been reading it for so long. We we spent 2 months reading that book, and we were able to nitpick everything because we had to sit there and think about each act of a book that's really, honestly, not supposed to be thought over that hard. Uh, and after the fact, with some distance, I've definitely reevaluated a little bit of my perspective on it, and I think we were a little harsh. So I my counter question, by pushing this to the side, how early is too early? At what point is it no longer recency bias? At what point are we in the clear to do a rating? Is it like the next day? Is it the next week? Like, if recency bias plays such a significant role in the rating, then at what point are we in the clear?
I think there's a reason we often advise people before making a big decision to sleep on it. So
Dang,
I'm gonna say after you read a book, after you watch a movie, take a nap, sleep on it.
that's good. I
But
like
but
that.
like objectively, I don't know. It's hard to define that, right? Because recency bias is a very relative term. Like it definitely it's very relative. Like an extreme example. Uh, no, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. We're gonna get
You
us.
should. You should say an
No, no, no.
extreme
We're
example.
gonna.
Yeah,
No.
do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
I
Let's
don't
get
even know if it would make
controversial.
sense. No, no,
That's
no. I'm
okay.
not saying.
We'll make it. But yeah, I got you. It's
But yeah,
I
like
do understand. I think though the day after is a really good take. Sleep on it. That really is good advice. Not only with rating books, but with dealing with life. Everybody. PSA: sleep on it
before you get that
before
car,
you make. Sleep on it
sleep
before
on
you
it.
break up with your girlfriend. Sleep on it, unless she like cheated on you or something. I
Or
guess,
you sleep
or
in the same
like,
bed. That might be complicated.
oh, Yeah, that's complicated if you sleep in the same bed because then you have all these like feelings that really like fester, and then there's intimacy that can get involved and
Ugh,
change your emotional
ugh.
dynamic. And yeah, your mind can be changed through like I should stop talking. Anyways, we
Pheromones, I
should
think.
probably and we should, let's talk about our R rating system. So we established our subjective rating, not tier list, not our scale, but rather our collage, our subjective
Oh, I
collage.
like that. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
yeah, just came up with that on the good old noggin. Our subjective collage. Now, what do you think about for our more objective rating scale, our 1 through 10 scale? Because we hate tier lists and letter grades, and we hate 1 through 5. 1 through 10 is the best way to do it. So, objective scale, how are we running it? Mathematician Nor, take it away.
I like the 5-star scale.
Oh
I'm playing.
no!
Well, I do.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
So
Bourbon went down the wrong way.
previously, we've tried rating on 5 different aspects of a story, right? 5 different elements and taking the average. And my big issue with that was that everything was weighted equally. Like it was weighted the same. So the prose, the style had as much of an impact as the characters, which I think it's safe to say that that's not always the case. It definitely depends on the story, as always. Everything always depends, right? Um, our objective scale, here's what we try to do, right? We still have those 5 different elements. We have characters, plot, impact, style, and world slash lore, the world building aspect of it. What I changed was I gave each element a different weight, right? So here's what I had after some feedback. I did characters. We're gonna give them 30% of the rating. Plot 30%. Our impact 20%. Style 10%, and world 10%. And if I did the math right, that should add up to 100. Um,
That'd be so rough. It's like, oh, dude, we're at like 73%. Like, oh, dang. I don't know
yeah,
how.
we're readers, not
No.
mathematicians, okay?
Oh my
But
gosh.
and again, this is not perfect. We are trying to be as objective as we can get. But at the end of the day, what we're doing here are ratings, and those tend to be very subjective. Um,
Mhm.
do you agree with this? Do you have any changes you would like to make
I do have a
before
question.
we?
So, at least how we're trying to structure this podcast, uh, we both really like science fiction and fantasy, but that's not the only thing we like. We also like classics, like literature, right? We like nonfiction, I guess, somewhat. I do, but we
I
like
think I
we
know where
like
this is
other
going.
we like other works. How are we going to handle world slash lore in
Yeah,
books
yeah,
that's not really a relevant factor because it's just set in life?
that's a good point. And I did think. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think hard about it. I thought about it. Here's my pitch for that type of book where it's not explicitly sci-fi or fantasy. We can sort of think of this, and again, this just reinforces the idea that this is all subjective because there's no hard set rules. But I'm gonna sound really stupid here. What is the name of the tool, the counting tool that kids used to use, where like they would move the
Oh,
wheel?
is it a rabicus?
An
Atticus?
abacus,
Abacus? Abacus! We got
Yeah,
there.
yeah, there we go.
Abacus.
We got it so quickly. Oh my god, thank you. Yeah, the abacus. So, in my head, I see it as an abacus, where in that type of book, right, the literary fiction, where the world is just literally a real world and it's irrelevant to the larger extent.
Irrelevant.
It's just irrelevant. Who cares about the world, right? You're not shaped by your environment. In that case, we can
Throws
toggle the
full.
little the little counters on the advocates. In that case, we would change the percentage, but we would talk about that and our reasoning behind that when we do the rating.
Okay, I have a counterpoint slash alternative option here. So, at least when I after I asked the question, when I was thinking about it, the world is not necessarily world building, but also world building is essential to every story, regardless of what story it is. So I immediately thought of To Kill a Mockingbird, right? The way that he creates the town and the small town feel, and he's still world building, he's still creating an environment that the characters live in, is incredibly vivid. You get the like racism of the South, you get that, and it feels so alive. And it's not because the world is real. No, he's creating the world. Like he is writing the world into existence, and it is absolutely it is an it happens because of the writer. And so world building slash lore is relevant regardless of the genre because the characters are in a world, and how the author represents that world is essential to the viewing experience or reading experience. My bad. I love movies. To the reading experience. So I think it still counts. I think it still counts because that's separate from style and prose. The way that the author portrays the environment and the setting is essential to a story, no matter where it's set. That's my take. What do we think?
Damn, that's a good point.
Wow.
That's a good point.
Dude, I went for a long walk today. My brain is firing on all cylinders right now.
That old nogging.
Yeah, I had to walk
They
home from the car place because it was like a 2 mile walk. I have so many good thoughts during that walk. Just pure silence and sitting with myself. It was great.
Here we
Oh,
have Gabe working at his highest right now. The
my
gears are
eyes! You're never
grinding.
getting this again, everybody. This is
This is his
it.
peak. This is his
We're
peak.
at peak. This is peak. Never again will I reach this unless I also drop the car off to get it fixed. This is it. Anything else here? I mean, we talked about Goodreads, which is essential. We talked about vibes. We talked about our rating systems, and I see seems like agreed on a subjective collage and a more objective multi-axis weighted rating system. That makes us sound really smart, when in reality Nor sent me an example equation that I can just put my little numbers in to get it right. I looked at it, I was like, I have no idea how to do this, and so he told me how. So that's great. um, we talked about why we rate books, and then we also talked about, well, I think we should finally end with what we personally value in a book. So while these are all, this is a weighted rating system, Nor to you, what is most important? Is it the plot? Is it the characters? Is it the impact? Is it the world? And this is to not, to completely ignore every lecture you've heard, or every big booktuber or other podcast you've listened to. Listen to your heart here. What matters the most?
I think I've alluded to this in the previous episode we did, where we talked about what makes a good book to movie adaptation. And I do think it's through a fault, but the one thing I love the most, the one thing that matters the most to me, are characters. Characters above all else. And yeah, in some books, world building is very important. It has a lot of implications. The way I see it, the way I appreciate it at least, is we see the world through the characters. And so it is the character constructing the world. Like they're receiving the world and then they're interpreting the world, and we see the world through their lens. This is not always the case, but for me, characters in that way also extend beyond, right? They are the plot in a lot of cases, and in many ways and especially through like my psychology studies, right? The way I've developed my own personal philosophy, the world is different for each and every one of us, at least as we perceive it, right? So characters above all else, that's the one thing that matters to me. If the characters suck, I usually have a really hard time sitting through a book. Plots, they can be very repetitive. They we see patterns, and you can say the same about characters and world building. But I think at the end of the day, the most unique part, the most special part of a story are the characters and the journey they go on. So,
Yeah,
what about you?
I think that's a great answer. In an effort to not say the same thing, which I wasn't going to, but you made a really good case there. I would say for me, and I mean, you've probably been able to tell it through these episodes so far, but impact is probably the most impactful for me. I really value whenever books ask big questions. I really value whenever books ask questions that don't have simple answers. And so most of the time, of course, that's represented through brilliant character work and interesting plots, right? Of course. And so I would see to you that the characters are the most important factor, right? But for my experience, the impact of a book is what stays with me and what keeps me thinking about it. Like I remember vividly, I was actually listening to Golden Sun. I was listening to an audiobook and I was in bed just laying there. Couldn't fall asleep because the book was so good. And as the book finished, no spoilers, of course, but as the book finished, I remember just not being able to sleep for another hour just thinking. Just thinking about so much, thinking about the politics of it all, the philosophy of it all, the morality of it all, and just being amazed at what the author was able to conduct. I mean, he treated this book like an orchestra, and I just got to sit in awe of it for a second. And so to me, impact is whenever all the other pieces work in harmony, that's what develops the greatest impact. So that's why I would say on my personal feelings on the book, impact is essential. I cannot feel mediocre about it. Like I have to really care. Um, and so I guess
I
before we
agree
end
with that.
here,
One thing I'll add,
yeah.
for me, the character journey is the impact, right? So I completely
Hmm.
agree with what you said. And I think we feel the same way about that, but I feel
Yeah.
it about the character journey. Because when I think of a good story, I think of Kaladin, right?
Hmm.
Kaladin's journey. That is so impactful to me. And I think of Miles Morales. But damn it, do I love a good world building. And I love
Hmm.
it when books ask big questions that they can't even answer. Who
Hmm.
can?
Now, Nor, did you finish your drink?
I did. Did you finish your
Oh,
drink?
is this the first? Of course I did. This is. I think this is the first time we've both finished our drinks, isn't it? I don't think we've ever run into this
That's
situation. We have no chug, chug, chug.
that's
Well,
true. Because here at
that's
Novels and
because
Nightcaps,
we
we
finished our
finish our
drinks.
drinks.
Everyone have a good night.